Myself Vasundhara Garg, Assistant Professor in Babu Banarsi Das University. My today's lecture is on jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. India has a federal structure of governance and the Supreme Court of India is a federal court. Article 124 to Article 147 of the Indian Constitution deals with the function, power and jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. The Regulating Act of 1773 established the court at Calcutta. Similar courts were established at Madras, Bombay in 1800 and 1823 respectively. The Supreme Court of India is based on the Federal Court of India, which was established by virtue of the Government of India Act 1935. However, it differs from the Federal Court in the sense that the appeals from the Federal Court could be made to the Privy Council, whereas the Supreme Court of India is the highest court of appeal and no appeal can be made against its order before any other court. The Supreme Court has been conferred with the jurisdiction as well as powers of both Federal Court as well as Privy Council. The court states the functioning on 28 January 1950. Now come to the appointment of judges of Supreme Court. Article 124 and 124A of the Indian Constitution lays down the procedure for appointment of judges of Supreme Court. Every judge of Supreme Court shall be appointed by the President by warrant under his or her hand and seal. In judicial appointments, it is obligatory for the President to take into account the opinion of the Chief Justice of India. The opinion of Chief Justice of India is binding on government. The opinion of Chief Justice of India must be formed after due consultation with the collegium of at least 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. Article 124A amendment has been struck down by the Supreme Court's order dated on 16 October 2015 in the Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association versus Union of India case. Collegium system of appointment is followed. Now come to the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has original, appellate as well as advisory jurisdiction. What is original jurisdiction? Article 131 provides the original jurisdiction. It means the court extends to the dispute between the union and states and dispute between 2 or more states. In the case of the state of Karnataka versus Union of India, the notification of the central government established the Commission of Inquiry to inquire into charges of corruption against the CM of Karnataka, and it was challenged by the state government under Article 131. The court had to determine whether the said notification could be challenged under Article 131 or not. The central government contended that since no legal rights of the state were affected, the petition was not maintainable. Next one is appellate jurisdiction. The Supreme Court of India has a very wide appellate jurisdiction. Appeals can be made before the apex court where the matter involves a substantial question of law. The Constitutional Bench of the Supreme Court in the case of Sir Chunilal V. Mehta and Sons Limited versus Century Spinning and Manufacturing Company laid down what would constitute a substantial question of law. The court held that if the question is regarded to be of public importance or is deemed to affect the party's right in a substantial manner, and if neither the question nor the principles to be applied for determination have been settled finally by the court, then it would be considered to be a substantial question of law. Article 132 Clause 1 empowers the Supreme Court to allow appeals against any judgment, order or decree from the High Court if the matter is certified to involve a substantial question of law by the High Court under Article 134 Clause A. In a civil cases, appeals can be made before the apex court under Article 133 Clause 1 subsequent to the High Court sanction. Similarly, in criminal cases under Article 134, whether the accused is sentenced to death by the High Court in the reversal of his acquittal, whether the High Court sentenced a person to death after withdrawing the case from the subordinate court. And SLPA is mentioned under Article 136. Next one is advisory jurisdiction. The Supreme Court is also empowered to give an advisory opinion on any matter referred by the President under Article 143. The President can seek the advisory opinion on any question of law or fact in nature of public importance. The advisory opinion of the court is not binding on the government. In the case of INRI Special Court Bill, a private member bill was introduced in the parliament for setting up a special courts for the purpose of deciding cases involving offences committed by the public officers during emergencies. The President sought the opinion of the court regarding the constitutionality of the bill. The court held that the parliament was empowered to establish such courts. However, the court held that the opinion was not binding on the parties. The opinion of the court has significant judicial importance and will not bind the parties. Next one is review jurisdiction. Under Article 137 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court is empowered to review any of its previous judgments. It is pertinent to note that Article 262 empowers the Parliament to confer or deprive by law the apex court of the jurisdiction in respect of matters relating to control, operation and distribution of interstate river waters. The jurisdiction of Supreme Court can be extended by the Parliament by virtue of Article 138. Following are the functions of Supreme Court. It is responsible for interpreting the provisions of Constitution. The Supreme Court frames guidelines and rules and lays down the procedure for its own functioning. The Supreme Court is responsible for protecting and upholding the fundamental rights. The court can issue writs under Article 32 for enforcing the rights of citizens. It also involves the dispute between union and states as well as between two or more states. It is the highest court of appeal. And Article 141 provides that the subordinate courts would be bound by the law laid down by the Supreme Court. So that's all for the today. Thank you.